So I initially recorded an introduction to this podcast yesterday, doing the thing that I normally do, which is to go for a walk somewhere nice. So you YouTube people have something nice to watch while you're listening to me. And then today, while I was editing the show, um, turns out that the audio was pretty much unusable because there was a little bit of a breeze. It wasn't even what I would call a windy day, but there was a bit of a breeze, and it was just hitting my microphone in such a way that you couldn't hear what I was saying at all. That's not the first time that's happened. If I had more money, I would get some proper recording equipment, but I don't have more money. So you're just stuck with this plain um, Egyptian cotton colored wall behind me instead of a nice field, which is where I was yesterday. Um, I'm going to keep the introduction relatively short because my guests, plural, on this podcast, Vicki and Francis, have plenty to say, and I don't want to kind of use too much time on my usual wafflings. Couple of things to say about the episode though before it starts. One is, and I promise I'm not going to do this often, but for this episode, if you're listening on one of the podcasting apps, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever, um, I would really encourage you to jump over to YouTube to have the visual as well as the audio. Even if you're not kind of watching it the whole time, you can have YouTube running in the background while you're doing other stuff. The reason for that is that I recorded this in person with Vicki and Francis, which I haven't done before. These podcasts have all been over Zoom, and I have a setup here that works pretty well to record stuff not over Zoom but over video call. And I didn't really know what I was doing when we were recording it in person. So I've got this very nice microphone, which works perfectly when I'm here talking into it. But when there were three of us trying to all share the same microphone, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the microphone or the software that we were using or whatever, it just meant that the audio came out a little bit not as clear as I would have liked it to. So I felt while I was editing it that without the visuals, at times it was quite hard to hear what was being said. So sorry about that. I do this by myself. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I'm going. So it's not ideal audio wise, but I think with the video it works. With the video you can hear everybody. The other reason why it's potentially worth jumping over onto YouTube is that there are occasionally visual moments. Francis, in particular, occasionally gets up and demonstrates stuff. He shows how he prayed when he was in the mosque and that kind of thing. So it's worth having the visual as well if you can. If not, I hope the audio is clear enough. But forgive me if it isn't. So just very quickly, I'll tell you a bit about Vicki and Francis. I mean, we introduced them at the start of the show, so I don't want to kind of repeat any of that stuff. But just to say, Vicki is an old friend. I've known her for a long time, and she's somebody who I really love and admire. And one of the things that I love and admire about Vicki is her really unique and special way of working with people with learning difficulties. And I think the thing that I admire about Vicky's relationship with people with learning difficulties, which you'll see in this conversation with Francis. Francis is one of the people who Vicky works with who has Down syndrome. Is Vicky doesn't do that thing of being the professional helper who elevates herself above the people who she's helping. So she doesn't do the thing of talking to people like this. Do you need another drink? She doesn't do any of that kind of stuff. Um, she treats Francis very much like her equal. And for as long as I can remember, Vicky has had that kind of outlook about working with people with learning difficulties. So she doesn't talk down to him. She pushes back sometimes on stuff that he says, and vice versa. And they just have a really cool relationship in which, yeah, in which it kind of the difference between a neurotypical person and a neurodiverse person or whatever doesn't feel that important. They are just friends who have a really cool relationship. Francis actually calls Vicky his sister-in-law for various reasons, and it is very much like being with a brother and sister, hanging out with the two of them, both in terms of the love that they have for each other, but also in the way in which they kind of occasionally squabble with each other and that kind of stuff. I hung out with Vicki and Francis before and after recording this, and Vicki's husband Matt as well. And it was just really, I just loved being with them. It's such a cool little, you could almost call it a family that they have. Yeah, really fun, creative, lovely people. I don't think I'm going to say a huge amount else at this point. I'm just going to hand over to the conversation with Vicki and Francis. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're able to hear it well enough. And if not, I'm really sorry. And do check out, well, I won't talk about it now because we talk about it in the podcast, but do check out Blink Dance Theatre and their social media stuff, which I'll put the links in the show notes to get more from Vicki and Francis and the people who they work with much better audio than this podcast. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And I will see you at the end for a little bit of housekeeping. But for now, enjoy Vicki and Francis.
So I've met Francis once or twice before, but really this is the first time we're properly hanging out and getting to know each other a little bit. Do you guys want to say a little bit about what you do? Tell us about Blink and kind of how you guys know each other and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so who are you?
I know who I am.
And so it begins. So I'm Vicki, yeah, as Tim said, and me and Francis have known each other for well over a decade now. That's why you're going grey.
What?
That's why you're going.
This is nice. This is nice.
We met in a dance class, and it's called Amiki Dance Theatre, and they're resident at the Lyric Theatre in Hammersmith. And there's like maybe 40 or 50 people that go to Amiki, and we decided about 8 years ago now, or 9 years ago, that we were going to set up our own company, which had a similar sort of beliefs as Amiki, so it's like inclusive, but it would give us a chance to direct our own shows, because there's too many people in Amiki for everyone to direct. There's not enough time for everyone. And we also all like hip hop a lot. And cool. Wolfgang, who's the director of Amiki, he likes opera, which we do like opera, but we wanted to do something that was a bit more like with hip hop and that sort of thing, didn't we? So, and we just got on really well as friends with Delson and Kat, who also joined. So yeah, that's how Blink was born. Want to say anything else?
I'm a co-director.
You're a co-director
Dance theatre
of Blink. So so there were 4 of you in Blink.
There are 4 of us.
There are 4 of you now in Blink, but a slight lineup change, right? There's people who've come and gone over that time, and the 4 of you who are there are all co-directors. Is that right?
Yeah. Cool. So we're one of the only companies, I think, who have learning disabled legal directors of our company. I think we are. It's quite unusual. Yeah. And it means that all of the creative decisions, so all the shows we want to make, like whether we decide to work with children or adults or animals. No, I'm kidding. But like, what we decide as a group, like who we want to work with, what we're going to make our shows about, where we want our money to go. So if we have some extra cash, like we decide we want to do karaoke with it instead of putting it in the bank, or like ordering pizzas for everyone. And like, so all of the strategy and all of the creative decisions we make as a 4. And so Delson is another director, and he's non-verbal. So we have like a good
non-verbal means so he can't speak. Is that right? He
can't speak. So he has his kind of like own way of communicating, and he does like lots of choosing, and he has his iPad.
What do you mean choosing? What does that mean?
The reason why he can't talk because he chooses. He's got like a pad or an iPad, and he like tells us what to do with his iPad with Dr. Love.
Yeah.
And he just like to choose what to press on his iPad. Like if it's Bart Simpson, he'll play it. If it's EastEnders, he'll play it.
Okay.
And then if you are in love with a different person, he'll push the button on his pad, and he plays like a love song for them.
Oh, cool.
So this was in our show, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Delson has only ever used his iPad until recently, for quite practical things. So he used his iPad to say, if we're in a restaurant, I want a fizzy drink, or I want a hot drink, or I want chips, or I want salad.
Got it.
And we actually decided, because we had a residency at Battersea Arts Centre. We were selected for a residency there, and we started to use the iPad more creatively. Mm-hmm. So I think we're the world's first, possibly, people that have done Majekodunmi iPad rap.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
It's pretty niche.
It's pretty niche. So he's been using it to write poetry and go on a date scene. So there's a character who is verbal in our show, and they have this date together where they sort of navigate the iPad and make this really cool poem about the streams and the mountains and sausage rolls.
And Scotch eggs.
And Scotch eggs, yeah.
Okay.
And then the part of it that he wears in Dr. Love, he just wears a golden cape.
Yeah, so he plays two characters. So he plays Dr. Love as well, who's this quite disgruntled, quite grumpy love guru.
Okay.
And so you go into the doctor's surgery, either as a couple or one person, and he gives advice on his iPad.
Yeah.
So you tell him the problem that you've got.
Yeah.
And then he chooses something. So sometimes he might choose it's all his own choices as well. So sometimes it might be the Fulham football song.
Okay.
So you just poured your heart out to him, and he's right, and he takes ages to decide, and then you're what the am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear, go for it.
Fuck, why are you giving me this advice? And he's just give me your money, off you go.
He press on random things on his pad, and then myself and Vicki and everyone needs to act it out.
Yeah, sometimes we act it out.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes, when he was doing you actually went in as a pregnant person, didn't you, to the surgery? You were dilating. He was pretending, because you were doing your acting.
Yeah.
And he actually picked the pregnancy breathing one, so you were doing it along with it, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's cool. What show is that in?
That's Girl Meets Boy. So that's going to be touring, and we had to, just before, when the pandemic hit, we were 1 week away from doing a national tour with Girl Meets Boy.
Okay.
And we're going to be touring it in spring 2022.
And then in Girl Meets Boy, we did a kind of this idea that I came up with. My name is Francis, and my stage my stage name is Baby Francesca.
Okay.
So we played this game that we played in Girl Meets Boy. Is what's the game that we played? It's like a game show.
Right.
Yeah, a game show. So, for example, there's a heart, a heart shape, and I was behind of the heart shape, and you're allowed to have 3 contenders to side, and it's called Wiki Lake.
It's kind of like a Wiki Lake show, but it's a dating contestant dating show.
Okay, cool.
And then I have to I was the my stage name Francesca needs to introduce the act onto the stage. So, for example, if it's Vicki, I'll bring Vicki out on stage, and then I'll tell Vicki what is your passion on stage, and then you show the passion on
the
stage.
talent. Yeah, you have to give us show your talent.
Okay.
Yeah, show your
and
talent.
then you find us our ideal man or woman.
Yeah.
Now, so I am a big fan of Blink, and I've come to see one or two of your shows, and I haven't seen Boy Meets Girl yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing
Girl Meets Boy.
Girl
Everyone
Meets
does
Boy.
that. It's all right.
Going for a classic, putting the man first. I'm such a pig. But for the people who are going to be listening to this or watching it on YouTube, who haven't heard of Blink before, and if they're listening and thinking, that sounds awesome, how do I get to see that? How would they go about getting tickets? Have you got a website that they can jump onto?
Best thing is to follow us on social media. So on Instagram, it's blink.dance.theatre.
Okay.
And then on Twitter, it's Blink.
Vicki actually does your version from it.
No, don't give them. Francis does this thing where he's like super like smooth, like marketing man, but always gives the wrong website. So like you've got the style and I've got the facts.
Yeah.
So
okay.
we need to bring it together. So
blink.theatre.org.com.
.org.
I'll put the link in the show notes. Just
thank you.
But I mean, definitely for you guys who are watching or listening, 100% Blink's Instagram is the most joyful Instagram account you'll ever see. Like, honestly, it makes me so happy following you guys. It's always such like, apart from just seeing your shows and everything, which is great in itself, but just the whole mood of it is so creative and colourful and playful, and I love it. It makes me really happy following you guys. So check them out.
Thank you.
Blink.dance.theatre.
Yeah. And then Twitter is blink in capitals _dance.
Blink in capitals.
In capitals.
I'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah. We just before we move on, we did one show where me and Francis, it's the first time we directed a show together, like recently it's just finished, where so it was in a minibus and it was
I can tell you about it.
I'm going to explain it first and then you can add your ideas in. So basically it was Francis's story that he wrote, and because a lot of our audiences have learning disabilities, they were like in their bubbles, not being able to like come back out of lockdown for longer. So they came in their bubbles in their own minibus from their community centre, and then the show happened like on the glass of the minibus. So we had like foam and like lots of like crazy costumes that Francis designed, all these like magical creatures, and it was just really cool, like, because I think that a lot of people, what we're trying to do is like a lot of people with learning disabilities, like they are getting like more added into theatres and stuff, but they'll often go to like a something with a lot of words, like a musical, and they might have like a carer and a person's seat like on the outside or at the front or something, but it's not made for them. So people aren't often in the centre, and I think we wanted to do something that was actually designed, and that a lot of people that didn't have learning disabilities came and they were like, oh, it was really cool, but I didn't really understand it. And I was like, that's not what it was about. It's not for you to understand. So it's kind of nice to flip it, because a lot of people that are neurotypical came and they're like, what was the concept? And it was like, Francis wrote a really cool story about aliens and tornadoes, and you know, it was like not to be understood in that way. Awesome. It was to be understood like in a sensory way, and just to kind of like let go of your like need to always like make sense of stuff and be comfortable with just like being in the moment. And I kind of felt like, I was like really proud of us for doing that.
That's really cool. I've got a guy who I used to work with in my previous job who I didn't really get to know very well, but he looked after like our accessibility stuff for the website that I was working for. And one of the things that he would say is that when you make something accessible for everybody, it makes the experience better for everybody. So let's say, for example, when you're designing a website and someone who's visually impaired, who's blind, can't see it, so you need to make it accessible for a screen reader. Actually designing your website in that way makes it a better website for people who can see as well, because it's clearer, it's neatly laid out, and that kind of thing. So there's something about what you're doing there with the minibus, about doing something which is accessible, which means it's just a better experience for everybody who's involved, even the people who are potentially challenged by it, who find it difficult.
Yeah, we've been doing like this venue training, so it's like it's called Are You LD Friendly? So Are You Learning Disabled Friendly? Coming into different venues and like seeing sort of like challenging, because a lot of venues, they have like ramps and they have hearing loops and accessible toilets and stuff, which is great, but actually for people with learning disabilities, there's still a lot of learning to do about how to make your language simple, how to make things visually accessible, how to talk to people, and how to support them like to and from the theatre as well. So there's a lot of stuff that people aren't quite there with yet. But it's like our mentor Jess Tom, who's like been the head of like something called like the relaxed venue movement, and so she's trying to Tourette's hero. She's trying to like she's trying to make like all venues relaxed, and her thing is like, you know, actually by making your venue inclusive, it's like a catalyst for creativity. It's something that's really exciting. It shouldn't just be an add-on. It's actually something that, like, you know, for a lot of people, like Francis was saying, like having massage chairs and stuff, and like, you know,
I'd be up for that. That'd be awesome.
It's like a kind of pie in the sky idea, but it's like, who wouldn't be up for that?
Yeah. Then you go to the theatre; it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
with little wooden chairs. I'm well up for that.
Massage chairs in the theatre for the win. You want a massage chair in the theatre at the BAC? That's what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah. So when you go to the entrance, you just get to sit and have a massage chair.
Francis, do you want to say anything about the minibus show? Because you were going to say something just now, and then Vicki introduced the show. What did you want to say about the minibus show?
That drive-through.
What was your story? What was your idea? You've forgotten.
The phone, the flat sheet. I picked the clean outfit.
You picked the outfit?
Yes.
Cool.
Because we had to. It was the last time that we wore. It was a black blink shirt and a black jacket. Black hoodie jacket.
Yeah, that's our uniform, isn't it?
That's our old one. And then the new one that we just wear for this one is drive-through, so we have to match what we have to wear. So this one we have to wear a yellow neon shirt.
Oh, okay.
Way logo on the side.
Cool.
And for the pants, for the trousers, was like grey, and the trainers was like grey too.
Okay.
And then we got like our own different style of hoodie jackets.
Okay.
So I have I got my own hoodie black jacket.
Yeah.
And she has her own black hoodie jacket too as well.
Okay.
And then we all have to match, and it's called drive-through.
That's cool.
And I've done it's like a part of a rap thing.
Oh yeah.
A rap song that you taught me in drive-through.
In drive-through.
In drive-through.
Don't make me rap. Don't make me rap.
I saw your face then.
No, I want to do it.
Okay, go on then.
Go for it.
Is it when I say car wash, you say candy floss?
When I say car wash, you say candy floss. Car wash.
Candy floss.
Car wash.
Candy floss.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've done it in my own way, my own version from it. So I'm gonna give it to you now.
Okay.
So I eat like what do you mean? What do you mean? I eat the kind of floss. I'll watch it clean.
Nice.
Woo! We did actually give everyone candy floss at the end because we said, oh, I don't know if we've got enough money to give everyone candy floss, and you were like, that's what.
All of it was that Zoe's idea.
No, it wasn't Zoe's idea because Zoe was trying to say maybe candy floss is a bit annoying as well.
Yeah.
And you were like, I said candy floss, and I want that damn candy floss.
You were right. I respect that.
Yeah.
I want candy floss.
And everyone was like, why? Why candy floss? And I said, why not?
Yeah.
He's a director. Why do you want to have fans on the bus that smell like burning? That's what I want. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
Fans that smell like burning.
Well, Francis, like for the tornado bit,
yeah,
you wanted it to smell like burning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got this, like, our designer got a smell which he dripped onto these handheld fans that smelled like burning.
No way.
And we didn't realise that it's quite, well, obviously we did, but we didn't think about it. We were so concerned that Francis got what he wanted as a director. we think about quite a few people with autism coming that would be like, what the fuck? Why is it burning?
Yeah.
But it was fine because we just gave an announcement at the beginning, and they were kind of cool with it. But it's one of those things in hindsight where you're like,
and then we use the black sheet. So that's my idea of a tornado. So if you use the black sheet all over the bus, and the black sheet was so stuck on the bus.
Yeah, so Francis wanted it dark, so our designer made a huge black sheet which went all the way over the top, but when it was raining, it got stuck on the top of the bus. No. We were like dragging it.
Wow. And then I was doing it, Vicky was doing it. Everyone has to jump so high, and then they have to put all the black sheet all over the bus.
Right. And I saw pictures of that on Instagram. I think there was one. It might have been in your stories when it was raining really heavily, and you posted some stories about that.
And then all of a sudden with the all together, I was doing it, Vicky's doing it, and all together we were standing all together. The film was there on the side, and then we had to use our hands, and then we had to put all of the film on our hands on the both sides, and then we had to do it in the slow motion on the window. So you have to put both of your hand on that side of the window, but you have to do it much more slowly, much more slow over the window, and then you have to one hand. You have to do it in a slow motion of a phone, and the other hand you use the other hand is the phone as well, and then you rub all the phone on the window.
So you're kind of dancing with phone.
Yeah. Fantasy car wash phone dancing.
Yeah.
It's the latest thing. Yeah.
That's I'm here.
And then from there we got our old water spray.
Yeah.
And Vicky was doing it. I was doing it. And the water spray was there. I put the water spray pack on me.
Okay.
And then we all have to wash all over the windows.
Okay.
And
wash the foam off.
After we done that, then we went back to the thing.
We don't need to tell them every bit of it because otherwise they might get bored.
Isn't that bored?
But we did have a video of it, so maybe we can let everyone know when I might find the video.
Yeah, you send me the link to it, and I can pop it in the show notes as well.
Cool.
It is amazing.
Yeah, you had a costume with eyeballs on top of your head.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, I just again reiterate that I think what you guys do is so cool and so creative, and I'd really encourage everyone listening or watching to go check it out. But I also wanted to talk to you guys about the podcast's God or Whatever, and we generally talk on the show about people's beliefs and sometimes religion, not always religion, but religion comes up a lot, and faith and that kind of stuff, and what people think about God and where they find meaning in their lives and that kind of thing. And I think both of you guys are really interesting when it comes to conversations about religion.
I go to two churches.
Tell me about your two churches. What are they like?
So the old church that I go to is the bread and wine.
Okay.
So you got the traditional bread and wine church that you go to with your family in the morning.
Yeah. In the morning, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the other one?
And the other one, that's in the afternoon church. So my other one in the afternoon church is they do different activities there.
Okay.
She may like it. She loves it.
I don't.
It's her favourite.
It's not my favourite.
But it is not.
It's fine for it to be your favourite, but it's not my favourite.
But it is.
We don't have to like all the same things.
Why is it not your favourite?
I don't like church.
Okay.
No. What she does is have beatboxing.
I don't beatbox.
Of course you
don't tell me that.
Of course
I don't.
Of course. She likes to pretend to do beatboxing.
I think I've heard you beatbox.
See?
It's very much pretend beatboxing.
Yeah. We're not gonna make you do it.
No.
So for me, in the other church that I go to on Sundays, you start around like 12 and finish at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours.
Wow. And that's your second service
of the day.
So you've gone to like 4 hours of church on Sunday.
Yeah.
Wow. You really like church.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when I was there, we did like different activities from there. So we did like drama. We did like drama, acting, freestyle rapping.
Okay. So it's not. It sounds like it's not just your classic, boring, sit down, stand up, sit down, sing a song kind of church service.
It's not just about sitting down. It's just about everyone to have fun.
Okay.
And all of those ladies in the church that I go to in the afternoon, they are singers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and as I'm a man, and my friends are my favorite rappers.
Okay.
Right.
In church.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all of my friends were like emceeing, rapping on the microphone.
Okay.
And then I was in it too as well.
Okay.
And then they just like my dancing really.
So it sounds like it's a really fun place to go, actually.
Yeah. And then we've got like more vibes going on.
Yeah.
Inside the Hamilton Church afternoon.
Okay.
And then we did it. We did the version of the Hamilton song of it. It goes like we represent the hammer. We represent the hammer. Hammer. And is that hammer? But it's a version from it. It's called Hammersmith.
Right.
So it's not your classic church song.
It's not like a hammer, like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So what are you hammering?
We're not like hammering. We're just like all of my friends are like rappers. They all together. It's like
because that's why I don't like church. That's why I don't like church, because they hammer it in. I walk down Lewisham High Street. Every time I walk down Lewisham High Street, there is someone on the microphone hammering it in. You're going to hell. You're going to hell.
Like that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah,
nah.
I don't like it.
Either. And one time, I was minding my own business, walking into Iceland's to get my Christmas shopping. This was Christmas Eve, and I had my headphones in, my music here, and this is like last year, maybe 2 years ago. And this woman who was preaching, because I didn't hear anything, she grabbed me by the shoulders and she just started praying for me, like shaking, praying for me. I didn't ask for it or nothing.
That's like a prayer assault.
Yeah, it was a prayer assault. I did not appreciate it at all.
This is what you should do.
Tell me.
This is what you should do.
Please, enlighten me.
When somebody is up to somebody else, and if you're listening to your music or your headphones or whatever you're doing, and that someone wanted to do a live performance or live shows in different way or different areas, right? You don't need to pray for them or anyhow. So they're just like wanting to get the attention from it. So that's why. So if you want to say something, you can say something in your own way. But you don't need to embarrass other people.
I'm glad we agree about that, Francis. I think you're right, because it's just a bit much.
So I'm interested, because Vicky, you and I met in church.
We did.
At a time when we were both super into church.
We were. We met at church.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So Vicky and I used to go to the same church.
What was she bad?
At the time, she was very good.
And now,
and I remember you and I kind of went, like, we became really good friends, especially there was a time when you were ill, I think, for about a year, when we hung out quite a lot. And in that time, we were both kind of on a journey. Both of us were kind of at a place where we were not really that comfortable with the kind of church that we'd met in, which was very kind of happy-clappy, evangelical, like that kind of church. And I guess I'm curious about your journey from that time when we met in church to where you are now, where you don't really like church. Like, what changed? I mean, I know that's a massive question.
Yeah, it's a big question. I think I can pinpoint it to one specific thing. And so in that year when I was off, our mutual friend, he took me to a place called Cafe Arts.
Okay.
When I was sort of like recovering, so I was able to do a bit more activity as a volunteer. And for the first time that I remember in my life, I properly like met someone with a learning disability. She was called Vicki, and she kept saying, "Oh, two Vickies like this," and she made me feel really welcome. And I literally I was there for about 20 minutes, and I had the time of my life. And I went into the toilets, and not in a weird way, but I went into the toilets and I cried my eyes out. I cried. No, I didn't.
I don't know what to do.
I'm telling my emotional story.
Okay.
No, I didn't go to the toilet. I cried because I was just like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It just hit me like nothing else had ever hit me. And I don't mean it in a cheesy way. I just meant in a. I'm home. I felt like I'd reached a home. It wasn't like, oh, I really want to help these people, pour them. I felt at home. That's all I can really describe it as. And from that moment, I haven't really looked back. And I went back to university after I'd recovered, and I started working in this big residential home with 44 adults with learning disabilities, and I got really into it. And I started having a lot of questions. So the church I was going to at the time, they were of the belief that the way you became a Christian is you said a special prayer and you let Jesus into your heart. And I was working with a lot of people who, one, couldn't talk, two, even if they could talk, they wouldn't be able to understand Jesus, and you wouldn't be able to explain a concept to them. And I was saying to my friends at the time at church, well, how does Sheila become a Christian, and how does Tony become a Christian? Because and they didn't really have any answers, and they started getting quite angry with me, I think, as I was challenging them. And they sort of I felt like I was pushed out of the friendship group a little bit, because I was having a lot of questions that I didn't feel people could really answer. And at the same time, that's when I started going to Amiki, which is where I met Francis, which was 50 people with and without disabilities, intergenerational, incredible community of people that work together, very sort of non-institutional, proper, quality people, and just very welcoming and very inclusive in the way that I'd never experienced. And so I ended up going. I was still at church, and I ended up going to my friend's wedding, Andy, who sadly passed away, didn't he? And Andy had cerebral palsy, and he was getting married to one of his old carers, Bruce, who's not disabled.
I know that.
And it was a beautiful love story, of these two people that had found a connection and against all the odds, And so I was going to their wedding, and I remember lots of people in the church taking me to the side, trying to persuade me not to go. Sort of saying, it's okay for you to be friends with them, but by going to the wedding, you're sort of saying that you agree with it, and you're sort of
as in because there were two guys,
because they were two homosexual, mainly because they were gay. I think it still challenged people, obviously, about all of it. And I just sort of felt at the time, because I was so in love with Amiki, it was a honeymoon period. At the same time, the church being so openly sort of critical, I sort of knew where my path was leading. And I felt like everything that I had wanted to get from church, which was the sense of community where you could actually be yourself, and a meaning, a purpose, a sort of, I knew that I wanted to be able to get on with a whole different loads of people, learn how to speak to someone who can't speak, that's what I felt like my purpose was. And so I got all of that from Amiki, and I felt like church became less valuable to me, because I felt like whatever God feeling, whatever spiritual feeling, I was getting that from Amiki. I wasn't getting it at church. I didn't feel it at church anymore.
Were you crying in church?
I wasn't crying in church.
I really didn't cry in church. Was it tears of joy?
When I was crying at the community centre where I met Vicky, the two Vickies, I was crying with joy.
That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
So sometimes I do cry.
Yeah, just like the X Factor. Like,
yeah, I was crying like I'd won X Factor.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Kind of
X Factor's quite old, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that anyway.
So
do you have any choirs in church?
Do I have choirs? What, in the kind of church I go
Hang
to?
on, criers or choirs?
Yeah. Well, I got both.
That is so weird to say. Say it. Criers or choirs?
Choir.
Or crier?
No.
You can't say it.
It's choir.
Okay, choir.
Do you have any choirs in church?
I do. So I haven't been to church in probably about a year, partly because of COVID, but also because up until about 2 years ago, I worked for the church, so I had to be in church every Sunday. And probably similar to, you were saying you go to church for 4 hours on a Sunday. I probably did that over 2 or 3 services, and then there was stuff in between the services as well. And now that I don't work for the church anymore, I'm just really enjoying having a little holiday from church. So I am I would call myself a Christian, like I still am religious, and my plan is to go back to church. But at the moment, I'm quite enjoying just bunking off church, to be honest.
You sing in church?
Yeah, the kind of church that I go to, yeah, we sing, we have choirs. It's more like your Sunday morning church. It's quite traditional. We have bread and wine, we have choirs and robes and that kind of thing.
Do you have like an altar server in church?
Altar server.
Yeah, it's that kind of church. We have all of that. Yeah.
Is there a story coming?
No, because even when you get like the altar server, they just like help the priest.
Yeah. Are you an altar server?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes,
Oh.
I'm an altar server.
So I'll tell you what, Francis. Now you're back. I wanted to ask you something because I found out earlier on, before we were recording, when we were just chatting over there, you said that your mum is a Christian and your dad is a Muslim.
Yes.
And it sounds like you've gone.
You told me that.
No, you told me that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Just before we started talking, and so you've gone down the road of being a Christian. Why did you go down the Christian road and not the Muslim road?
Well, my dad is Muslim.
Yeah.
And Christian.
Yeah.
Because as a Christian, I take red and white.
Okay.
My dad doesn't.
But did you ever think about being a Muslim?
No, because I'm a Christian.
Okay.
Because I take red and white.
Yeah.
And my dad doesn't.
Okay.
Do you sometimes go to the mosque with your dad and do the prayers?
Really?
Do you sometimes go with your dad to the mosque and do prayers?
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah. I went to the mosque when we were in Nigeria. Yes. Yes.
Oh wow.
Because my dad was a Muslim.
Yeah.
So we have to we don't have any in Nigeria. They don't have any bathrooms. So what we do is inside the mosque, we use like a small kettle.
Okay.
Yeah, because the part of it we do so often that we got like a big kettle thing, and inside that small kettle thing it has got like a water in it. So first of all, it's like a traditional way. So we have to wash our head 3 times, and then we have to wash our feet 3 times, and then we have to wash our nose for 3 times, and then we wash our mouth for 3 times.
Yeah.
And then all together inside the same mosque, we do like a different set of praying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a different sort of praying. We go like we put our hands onto our ears.
Okay.
And then we go like this onto our side like this.
Yeah.
And then we go like this on the bottom like that. And then we have to do this one for 3 times.
Okay.
So that's a part of our tradition of praying.
That's cool.
So are you Christian and also a bit Muslim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm half Christian and half Muslim.
Okay.
Because I can't eat pork.
Oh, do you not eat pork?
No.
Okay. So you do. So you follow some of the Muslim rules as well as some of the Christian.
Yeah,
Can't believe.
that's why I stopped eating bacon.
Okay.
You did have ham in your
Mm.
sandwich this morning.
So say,
You did have ham in your sandwich this morning.
yeah, I just had ham in the morning because I know it's my breakfast time.
Okay, so
So-
you're allowed to eat pork at breakfast time. It's
Pardon?
pork. Pork is pig, right?
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I'm ready.
I can't believe I'm telling you this
Okay.
now because I did have pig pork because it was on that same day. It's like a roast day, and we had like a pig roast.
Okay.
So sometimes you don't eat pork.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do eat pork.
But I think it sounds to me like you're doing what you can. You're doing your best. And I think that's the best thing that a person can do. So you're not kind of completely 100%, I'll never even look at a slice of ham, but you try your best not to eat too much pork. Is that right? Yeah, that's cool. That works. I've been to a mosque. I really enjoyed it. And I prayed here in East London.
Okay.
And I prayed with the Muslims there.
When you enter the mosque, did they offer you a sort of big kettle with the water inside?
No, I don't know why, but we didn't do all of that. It was in East London Mosque, which is huge. I think it's the biggest mosque in the country. So there was loads of people, hundreds of people there. This is before COVID. And I had to take my shoes off.
Yes.
But I didn't have to wash or anything like that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they're a little bit, I don't know, slightly different, or maybe because I wasn't a Muslim, maybe they didn't mind that I didn't do that stuff. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
Do you use any something that you covered yourself with your head?
I don't think so. I can't remember. It's quite a long time ago. But I don't think I had to cover my head. I think the ladies had to cover their heads.
Yeah, because some people have had like a tradition of how they put their scarf over their head.
That's right.
In different religions.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. But that's mostly women, isn't it? I think who put the scarf over their head.
Yeah, women.
Yeah.
And some men wear turbans.
Yeah, that's in Sikhism. That religion.
That's Gurpreet. Gurpreet's religion is Sikh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see wear a turban.
No.
Okay.
She doesn't. I don't think he does.
No.
Maybe for weddings. He does for weddings.
That's cool. So, Vicky was talking earlier on about, lots of people go to church because they want to find that feeling of like coming home, being in a place where they can relax, be themselves, come to life. And Vicky, you were saying that you found that in kind of a Miki and in the community of working with people with learning difficulties and disabilities, and almost when you got to that point, you almost didn't really need the church anymore because you found the thing that you were looking for. You found your fulfillment somewhere else.
I still grapple with it, but yeah.
Still grapple with.
I think like sometimes I find I'm still processing like like when you have more of a formal opinion that there's a God and he or she or they are like interested in your every move, and like if something goes wrong it's part of a plan and stuff. I don't really know where I'm at with that, and I don't think I really believe it, if I'm honest. But it's like quite nice to like think that someone really cares about like everything you're doing. And so I suppose like whereas I do have a lot of meaning in my life and I feel really clear about like I think a lot about when I die, like what I want to be remembered for, especially because I've decided not to have children, so I think a lot about my legacy and like what I want to do in the world, and that's like how I live. But I kind of do miss that idea of like just feeling like there's someone who was there.
Do you feel like that, Francis? Does your faith, Christianity and Islam both, does that give you that feeling of like you've always got somebody there with you, that you've always got God with you? You see what I mean? So does the fact that you're a Christian, does that make you feel like God is always with you, that you're never alone?
You have to like take your Bible every day.
You read your Bible every day?
Not too often.
No, me neither. It's okay.
So, when you think of God, what do you think of? Do you think of a person in the sky, or is it more like someone in your heart, or like, or none of those things?
God is like a person.
Okay, and so
Maybe it's like trying, maybe it's like crying for help, because sometimes he had like a lot of mistakes with his father. For example, like Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
First of all, Eve offered him an apple, and then it's like a poison apple. And then all of a sudden, Ozana had a friend that then betrayed him, and he was then Ozana was crucified on the cross.
I don't know that story.
Osana.
Yeah, Ozana. Yeah, he was like, so for example, Ozana was like that, and then all
Like
of
Jesus.
those bad tribes, they use a part of the nail.
Yeah.
Yeah, the part of the hand. Yeah. So when on the cross, they hammered the nail onto his palm of the hand, the same with the other hand. So he went like that on the cross.
Okay.
And then when like that, he was trying to reach up to his father, like can you please help me to wise me up, or something like that. He's trying to help him.
Are you talking about Jesus right now?
Not right now.
No. So
No.
do you believe in Jesus?
Yeah, I do.
So who's Osana? Different to Jesus?
It's different Jesus.
Okay.
It's different Jesus. Some people call him Jesus, some people call him Zeus.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of that's interesting. So I wonder if growing up with Christianity and Islam means that you're quite open to lots of different religions. And let's say if there's only one God, but we're all different in the way that we understand God. So we all have different words for God. And so me as a Christian, I would say God and I would talk about Jesus, but a Muslim would talk about Allah and maybe talk about Isa, the prophet. And then, in ancient times, people would talk about Zeus and Odin and Thor and those guys.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we could also, that experience, that feeling. Yeah, like Hercules. Yeah, those kinds of stories.
For example, when you were watching the Hercules, there's this guy who was like hanging up in the middle of the cave or something.
Oh, okay.
And he was like looking up to Zeus.
Right. So, but what I'm wondering is that feeling that Vicky's described, that feeling of like feeling at home, feeling like you're in the right place, feeling so emotional that makes you want to cry with joy because you're so happy that you found the place where you're supposed to be, whether that's just another way of understanding this thing that I call God, but you can call it whatever you want, like spirituality, meaning, faith.
But he still loves you.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, certainly that's what I believe.
Yeah, that's what God is to show His love for us.
Yeah,
as people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't believe in God though.
Yeah, I know you don't believe in God, but me and him believe in God.
I don't think, Mum. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying, hey, look, you are a Christian after all, and look, clearly God is real. What I'm saying is that throughout all of human history, as far as I know, we've craved that thing, that moment that you've described of like, I'm at home, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm in the right place, this is my community, these are my people. And I wonder if religion it's a way of like giving a language to that. So we call it God, and we call it the Holy Spirit, whatever. But actually, the experience, whatever you call it, is kind of the same thing. I'm just like, yeah, that's right, the sign of the cross. Spectacles, that's a good one.
How is the name of the Father.
That's right.
Son. Yeah. Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that's it. You do that in your traditional church.
Yeah. And sometimes how we do it with the thumb, right? We have to lick our thumb like this, and then we have to do like a cross on the forehead.
Oh yeah.
A cross of the chest.
Yeah, I do that as well. Yeah, so you got on the mouth and then on the chest. Yeah. That's about God be on my mind, on my mouth, and in my heart.
Yeah. So God will be on your mind, and God will be always in your heart.
Yeah.
That's how love is.
Yeah.
So is God in your mouth?
Huh?
Is God in your mouth when you?
He's with me all the time.
When you told my auntie that she looks like Bill Clinton.
What? He's just that.
There's evidence. The whole world will know.
What is it?
Was God on your mind when you took Labaki's birthday cake from the gate and ate it all yourself?
Vicky!
No, that's what I'm interested in, because I think that you love the tradition of church. I think you love all the community. But I think when you're not at church, this is my opinion as one of your best friends, when you're not at church, I think it goes out the window.
Do you think that's true?
Because I think that obviously it's not your fault, but okay, so what does God tell you to do? What are the rules?
To do the right thing.
Yeah, so what are the rules?
What
are the rules?
What rules are you talking about?
So are you meant to look at other women when you're in a relationship?
I'm not girlfriend now.
All I'm saying is, right?
She won't watch. I'm sure she won't watch.
No, she won't watch.
This is life.
I know. But what I'm saying is, because I don't believe in God.
No, you don't.
Right. So you probably think that that's a bit bad.
About for what?
You probably think that's a bit bad that I don't believe in God.
No, you don't.
And you're always trying to say you should believe in God, go to church, la la la.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of that one.
Yeah.
Listen to this one. Me and Vicki went to one of our shows. It's like some like hip hop.
Yes. No, it was Frankenstein.
Yeah, it was like a
beatbox musical show. Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah. I did a version from it. What's it called?
So basically, one of the songs was called Genius. So it's about Frankenstein, whatever. And we were in the front row, and it was like Genius, like that, and it was like a really good song.
Yeah.
And we just looked round, and Francis was in the front row going, Jesus, like really loud, like to the point where you probably put off the performers. You were just like, Jesus.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna come to Francis's defense here against your attack.
Yeah.
Because I would say being a Christian is not about rules. It's not about doing the right thing.
But Francis thinks it is.
Do you think it is?
Maybe.
I think, and tell me what you think. Okay, you can disagree with me. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think, for me as a Christian, I break the rules. I swear and do naughty things and probably look at other women, even when I was in a relationship. I do all of that stuff as well. But that doesn't mean that God's angry with me. The whole point, I think, of Christianity is wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's okay. God loves you. It's okay. You're safe and you're held. So whether you could be, a sex worker and God still loves you.
Oh, God.
You can have an OnlyFans page. You could
We've
be
lost
a
it now.
But so you're still a Christian, even if you're doing stuff which maybe some people think is naughty.
What do you mean by sex helper?
I didn't say helper, I said worker.
You use sex worker.
Yeah.
Why did you say those kind of no words?
Well, because some people think that what those people do is naughty. But I don't think God does. I think the whole point is it's okay. Like, whatever, even if you ate that whole cake by yourself.
That's not true.
Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you should have. I don't know. But the point is that it's okay. You can still call yourself a Christian. You can still be loved by God.
But what do you think? Do you think? I think that's lovely.
No.
No, I'm interested because I think I know you quite well, and I think in the nicest possible way, I think you can be quite judgmental about other people, right? You can be quite judgmental, but you do not like other people judging you.
No.
Right. So
No.
let's just say, I'm not going to use the word sex worker because I know that you don't know what that word is.
Exactly.
Yeah? So if someone, they were doing their job, was to have sex with different people and they get paid for it, like a prostitute, yes, can they still be a Christian? Can you be a Christian and go to church on Sundays and then have your job as having sex with people and getting money? Can you do this? Can you go to church and be a prostitute?
No.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
See, I disagree with you. I think you can.
But Tim thinks that you can.
I think anybody can be a Christian. Anybody. Whatever things that they do, whether we think that they're naughty or not.
Oh yeah, that Charlie Sheen does.
Sorry?
That Charlie Sheen.
It's a big fan of
Charlie Sheen, yeah.
You're a big fan of what's it called? 2 packets of crisps and
No, it's 2.5 Men.
Oh, 2.5 Men. Okay.
With Charlie Sheen,
yeah,
right, he was like sleep with many prostitutes.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Because he had a breakdown, didn't he? He was very well for a while.
And he for him, he doesn't respect any women. So, for example, I can't believe that he slept with his teacher, the date teacher. I can't believe that he went to his brother's wedding day.
We're talking about in the show, not in real life.
Not in real life.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, the brother of Charlie Sheen was Alan Harper.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, they did at the back of the church. The back of the church was like a door.
Okay.
And they didn't have any sex behind it. Okay. They she was at the back of the door and he was standing at the front. And then he was banging the door, open the door like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the wife's supposed to get married to the husband.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, you know Charlie Sheen in the show, not in real life, Charlie Sheen, you know he's having sex with prostitutes.
Yeah.
Could he be a Christian and go to church on Sundays?
Like me.
Like you, could he come to your church even though he's having sex with prostitutes?
Of course he can.
Okay.
Oh.
So because you know him.
You too.
You never know which way it's going to go. All right, what about someone who takes drugs?
Drugs?
Yeah, someone who takes drugs. The drugs
like crack?
Yeah, like crack. Go on. Go on, say it.
Of course you can.
Of course you can. You've changed your... Okay, great. Well, I'm really glad.
So we're all on the same page.
That's but if somebody wants to hire a prostitute, and if you want to have, if they hire a prostitute, and that prostitute wants to have sex with you in a different way, I can say it's a doggy style.
Oh wow!
That's one way. Yeah, that's one of the ways.
And the only different one that I say is the old-fashioned way.
Okay, great. So
we can make this a podcast about that if you want.
I won't say that. That's not.
Don't ask Tim about the question you always ask.
No. What's your next question, please?
I want to know.
I want to know.
Francis wants to ask.
Francis likes to ask people if they like to do it in the old fashioned. Like lots of people, new support workers, head teachers, people that want to give us money or maybe decide not to give us money.
Isn't it true? I know you are a man. I'm a man. Isn't it true where the positive is like when you become pregnant or give birth to a baby? Isn't it true or not true that you can go to Vegas and that positive give birth to a baby? Can you be a married man?
I think you don't have to go to Vegas for that. You could probably do that here in this country. People do go to Vegas because you can get married really quickly in Vegas.
Like that?
Yeah. But you don't have to go to Vegas.
I don't know if it's all happening. I don't know. It sounds pretty futuristic to me. Hang on, right. So, Charlie Sheen, going back to Charlie Sheen, he's had sex with lots of prostitutes, which is a bit naughty. He can still go to church. He can come to church with you, even though, he's maybe breaking some rules. Is he going to heaven?
He's in heaven already.
Did he die?
No, Charlie Sheen's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah, Charlie Sheen is still alive.
So, do you have to...
Do you mean he's in heaven because he's sleeping with lots of prostitutes?
If you do lots of sin, like that sort of stuff, do you get to go to heaven or not? Can you still cope from KFC, beg at the chicken shop?
Really specific sins.
If I do all of those things the way I used to do it, if all of the prostitutes want to, if all the prostitutes want to use me to have sex, I'll be fine with it.
Okay, so you've done all of that. So you've done some sins, which God might see those as sins in your sort of church. Let's say you died when you're old, and you get to heaven. Is God going to say, yeah, Francis, you begged at the chicken shop and mixed some cake and took your water bottle to KFC and filled it up for free.
God's really petty.
And slept with some prostitutes. You can come to heaven. Is he going to say that? Really?
For the audio listener, Francis is nodding.
But what if he doesn't? What if he's like, no, you have disobeyed me?
Well, it was for me, and when my mom told me that if I'm doing the bad thing or the wrong thing, she likes to correct me.
Yeah.
And if cause I know I've got a sin inside of me, because I know he still be with me and loves me all the time.
Oh, that's nice.
So I've got a boundary for me, because when I go outside there, it's what's going on out in the earth that is not safe, like a pandemic or the coronavirus that is still there. I stopped sneaking out from the house. And I normally go to the shopping centre. What he said is true. When I found an empty bottles or empty cups, it's not KFC.
Okay.
It isn't the first field area inside the shop. I've got a problem of me by drinking a lot of fizzy drink. Which for me, that I can't do. Right. So she likes to I've got a boundary where there's a limit to stop myself not to do any bad things.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what we all do, whether we're religious or not. We all of us have a sense of what's good for us and what's bad for us.
Yeah.
What's good for the people around us and what's bad for us. So we all kind of try to make those decisions, whether or not we're religious. And I think for me in my faith, the point of it, the reason why I believe in it. So I think there's good religion and there's bad religion. And bad religion says, here's all the things that you have to do, and here's all the things that you mustn't do. And if you do this and you don't do these, then you'll be okay and God will love you. And so you spend your whole life thinking like, oh no, I've messed up again. Now God's going to be angry with me. But good religion at its best says, you don't need to worry. You're just a human being. Sometimes you'll make mistakes, and sometimes you'll be brilliant. It doesn't matter which side of that you are. You're still okay. God still loves you.
You know Justin Timberlake?
I do know Justin Timberlake, not personally.
Yeah, the part of his song where he sings "What comes around goes around."
Yeah.
Well, he's got a friend. What kind of a friend that when Justin Timberlake got a girlfriend, and someone came along wanted to be your friend, and that same friend wants to love with another girl. Because the part of the song that I remember is where this girl loves with the same man, and that same man loves Justin Timberlake's girlfriend.
In the music video.
And then and then all of a sudden, she was like trying to beat him up, and then after that, then the girlfriend, then his same girlfriend went back to her car, and then the car just she was like driving so fast away from Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
And then the car just took off by itself, literally off.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the whole big of fire ashes was on the road, and the girl was on the ground unconscious.
So if you do bad things, then bad things will happen to you. Is that what
Exactly, yeah.
And you believe that?
Because you cannot fall in love with the same women the way the women love with another friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe that if bad things happen, if you do bad things, then bad things will happen to you?
I think so. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. The way I would describe it is, if you go swimming in a swimming pool and you take a pee in the swimming pool, you're making the pool worse for everyone else, but you're also making it worse for yourself because you're still having to swim in a peed-in pool, right? So I think when you do bad, it's not like, I don't think there's like a God or the universe or whatever, like punishing you. If you do something bad, then I'll do something bad to you. It's more like when you do stuff that's hurtful to people, you're making the world slightly worse, and you're making it worse for yourself as well as for everybody else. You're swimming in a peed-in pool.
No one wants to swim in waves.
No, I don't. No. Definitely not. And I mean, I haven't even got on to pooing in the pool. Well, we'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah, definitely in our jobs we've seen a bit of that.
We don't need to get
We won't divulge.
And in fact, look, we've just gone over an hour, so I think this is probably quite a good place to end it.
In the pissy pool.
End it in the pissy pool, in the piston pool.
So, you're going to heaven.
I'm still alive.
I'm going to heaven.
No, you're still alive.
You're going to heaven.
You're still alive.
I'm already there.
Tim's already there. Or let's...
Right now.
Oh.
So I'll tell you what, before we finish, Francis, you can have the last word of this podcast. Is there anything you want to say to the people who listen to this podcast, people who are going to watch us on YouTube? Is there anything you want to tell them about religion, about Blink, about anything you want?
About rapping, about cakes.
What's the final word for this podcast?
We want to do a rap? Don't make me do that rap.
Okay.
We could.
I won't do it with you. I will do it with him.
Okay, are you ready for rapping, Tim?
Yeah.
Let's have an atheist rap battle.
Okay, let me hang on.
No, do I have to improvise a rap? I can't do that.
Why not? Because you got a cap and a headset.
You're right. I do. Stop and look. Okay.
Hang on.
You're gonna kick my ass. Okay, here we go. Last word from Francis is a rap battle, which I regret.
Yo, 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 yo. It's just up to don't what I do. Think don't differ is my team. Got my friend, it's my podcast. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. This is actually my street news. For my white shirt, picking on the street news. I got this beat, I got the heat. I found it on the beat. Me and him running the street. I got my girl, yeah, she's on my feet. What do you mean? I've got 16. I'm so dapper, striker. I rap to the precision. I'm on the computer, I'm on television. I bring to redemption. I've got motivation. I've got to reward. I've got to look for his my protection. I've got this face. I've got to the stage. Think on surface is all my rage. This stuff rap is what we do. Look at my boy, he came through too. Look at my girl, she's also around too. This stuff rap is on you. Got my music, yeah, I was stupid. I got my microphone right there. I'm a street beast. Yeah, I'm the best. It's on that test. Vicki Anderson is on that test. I'm Francis Gravity. I'm with a success.
Yes! That's a good place to end it. Perfect. Before I get to
So that was my conversation with Vicki and Francis. I hope you enjoyed it despite the not great audio. I hope that you got a vibe for just the awesome relationship that Vicki and Francis have with each other. And I hope that you found it as joyful a conversation as I did to take part in. Cool. So that's pretty much it for this month's episode. Just so that you know, this year I've been pretty good at uploading these on the first of every month pretty regularly. This episode comes out on the 1st of September. So if you're listening to it on the day that it comes out, you're also listening to it on the day that I start my new job as a hospital chaplain. I'm really looking forward to starting that job, but I also am aware that it's going to be full on and it's going to be tiring, and I'm not 100% sure what my working hours are going to be yet, which is all a way of saying that my plan is very much still to upload another episode of God or Whatever on the 1st of October. But if it's not there, if it doesn't appear in your feed on the 1st, you know why. I haven't got a guest lined up. I will work hard to get one. But I also need to make sure that I'm cutting myself some slack and dealing with the tiredness of starting a new and challenging job. But I will do my best, and I hope that there will be an episode on the 1st of October. And if there's not, it won't be too far behind. I do have another mini episode lined up that'll come out in hopefully a couple of weeks. And I also have Joy Story, the other podcast, which I record with Dan Mills de Bell, formerly of this show, which will come out at some point in September as well. So I love the sound of my own voice, and if you like it too, there are plenty of opportunities for you to listen to it if that's your thing. Cool. I think that's everything. Yeah, cool. All right. I hope you guys are all well. Thanks for listening. I do love you, and I will see you at the next one, hopefully at the 1st of October, if not long after that. Okay. Goodbye. Peace out.